Hello and welcome back to another out-of-spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. My Kia EV6 is in some need of some serious love. I have put off cleaning this thing so I can make some videos for you. At least that's what I'm telling myself. That's a big excuse. I just really haven't had time. But nonetheless, we get to make some videos with you guys, really putting products to the test. And today we're going to be testing out tire and rubber cleaners. You see, what I want to do on this channel is test expensive versus cheap versus somewhere in the middle and see which one you guys should actually be spending your money on. So in today's video, we have Adams Tire and Rubber Cleaner going right in the middle. We have CarPro Retire, which is said to be the world's best rubber and tire cleaner on the more expensive side. And then I also included DIY Details All Clean. This is not necessarily a dedicated tire and rubber cleaner, but the reason I've included this, number one, it's the cheapest because of the dilution ratios. And number two is because I know a lot of you guys get really frustrated when we recommend products that are made for one simple use case. DIY Details All Clean is an all-purpose cleaner meant to be used on various areas around the car, so I figured we'd throw this in the test. Without further ado, let's jump into it. Now I do want to start out this video in saying this is not a paid advertisement for any of these products. Now Ivan over at DIY Detail did send me a gallon of All Clean just to play around with. There was no expectation to make a video with, make a review with, but I thought it would pair perfectly with these other two products that I purchased with my own money to see how this works in our video. Now today we're going to be testing it, of course, on the tires of my EV6, of which are looking pretty disgusting. Now we're going to be importantly using these products two different ways. The first way we're going to use it is kind of the traditional way. You're going to spray it on the tire, scrub it with a tire dedicated brush, rinse it off and see how well it cleans. Then we can compare and contrast between all three of these. Then we're also going to clean it using a microfiber towel. Sometimes this is my preferred way of cleaning tires. Basically, grab a fresh, clean microfiber, spray a little product on there, get in and actually scrub down that tire. That's gonna help pull a lot of that tire shine off and have all of that browning and all that nasty crud that's on your tires into the microfiber instead of just rinsing it away. Sometimes it may work better. We'll be curious to see how it works with each of these products of how they intend it. Now, one of the big things here that I want to go through before we actually get into testing is pricing, because there is a huge price variance between all of these products. Over here, let's start on the cheapest end. This is DIY Details All Clean. Now, you can purchase this two different ways. You can purchase it in a pre-diluted 16-ounce bottle for $8.99, but really the way to go is get the concentrate gallon for $49.99. Reason being is for interior use, you use this diluted 1:30. For exterior, hence what we're going to be doing today, it's a 1:15 dilution ratio. If that's confusing for you, in a 16-ounce bottle, you're going to have 1 part, hence 1 ounce of All Clean, 15 parts, hence 15 ounces of water, and boom, you have your diluted product. That comes out to, if you buy it in the gallon, about 35 cents for a 16-ounce bottle. That's of course not including your water, but that would be almost impossible to calculate. So very cost effective over here. Cost effectiveness is always something I think about as a professional detailer. I am here to test products, but I'm also here to run a full-time dedicated detailing business. If I can get the job done in an efficient manner with the intended results I'm looking for, I'm always going to choose the cheaper alternative. But there are times where you do have to spend up for products, and that's what we're going to see here today. Next, we move into the middle ground. This is Adams Polish's Tire and Rubber Cleaner. Now, Adams is a little frustrating because every day the prices are different. They're always running a different sale. So all the prices we're seeing here today are retail, not on sale. So for a 16-ounce bottle, $12.99. For a full gallon size, $44.99. Now this product is meant to be used straight or undiluted. Now you can of course dilute this if you wish, lengthen or shorten the strengthenedness. That's not the right word for it. Nonetheless, you understand what I'm saying. If you dilute it down, maybe use a 1:1, 1 part water, 1 part tire and rubber cleaner, it's not going to be as strong, but your gallon will last you quite a bit longer. Then moving over here to the most expensive, CarPro Retire. Now, for a 16-ounce, 500 ml or half a liter bottle over here, $17.99. If you jump up to 1,000 milliliters or a single liter, it jumps up to $24.99. And then if you get a 4 liter or quote unquote a gallon, $74.99. I'm curious to see if this is going to be as good as this, because I don't know how many times more expensive this product is, but it's a lot. So I'll be curious to see that. So I think without further ado, we're gonna get into our little test here, see which one works best. We're gonna start off cleaning our tires here with DIY Details All Clean, going from least expensive to most expensive. Now, I need to explain real quick about how you actually use this product, because it might not be how you think. Most people would think you just use a regular spray trigger like you would use with the Adams tire and rubber cleaner. Spray it on the tire, get into scrubbing. What Ivan actually recommends doing here is using something like an IK foam sprayer. He says that what happens when you actually foam this, each time one of those bubble pops, it puts more All Clean on there, encapsulating that dirt, bringing it off of the tire. Now you also go in there and scrub the tire. So what we're gonna do today is actually use this with the CarPro Retire foam top on it, because my IK foamer broke, like they always do. I have the hardest time keeping those things working. So that's how we're gonna be using it. Again, one of the things I wanna test here is actually using it on a towel. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna spray the product directly on here, liberally. As you can see, it's foaming up here. And then I'm just gonna start scrubbing this into the tire. Now this is not the way Ivan actually says to use his product, but as you can see from that first go there, it's pretty nasty. Now what I would always recommend you do with this before putting tire shine or anything back on this is to actually rinse this off. So being that we're gonna spray this down and scrub it as well, we're gonna be able to do that. So I am seeing up here getting quite a bit of brown off, not down here quite as much. So we probably just need a little bit more product. Again, this is not the recommended way for any of these products other than Adams Tire and Rubber Cleaner. You can use this, but it'll be interesting to see how this works between all three. Now again, Ivan's theory here is the more you actually clean your tires and remove all of the brown, the more brown that is actually going to come out of the tire. I haven't always seen that to be the case. It's more to me depending on the actual rubber you have on your car. Michelin tires don't seem to do this. Nokian tires don't seem to do this. But the Kumos that were actually on this car before would turn brown almost instantly. So we're gonna let this dry off. Again, we're gonna rinse all this off after we do the other side, completely dry it, and then we can compare them to the other two. So now we're gonna use it more in the way Ivan would recommend doing this. We're actually gonna spray down the tire here. Again, not quite the foam you're gonna see from an IK foamer or something like that. Where we're gonna get our brush nice and diluted with all the All Clean in here. You can already see pulling off quite a bit of dirt and grime there. Looking pretty good. I'm gonna go in and scrub this with our tire brush. Now between all the tires we do, we're gonna use fresh clean microfiber, so we're not mixing any of the chemicals together. And I'm gonna rinse this brush out. Man, you can really see it pulling a ton of junk off there. Now, I should say I did this wrong. Ivan would recommend you scrub this once, maybe twice, and then that's it. Again, his whole theory behind this is the more brown you're bringing out of this, the more brown is going to actually come out of the tire, and you can actually quote unquote damage the tire. Again, there's some other experts out there. Ivan, again, has more experience. I've never had real big issues other than brown coming out of certain tires versus others. So again, take that with a grain of salt. So now we're gonna rinse all this down. Sweet. Well, I think we'll move next to Adams Tire and Rubber Cleaner. We're gonna get these dried off and then we'll compare at the end. So we're now ready for Adams Tire and Rubber Cleaner. Again, do remember we are using this undiluted, so straight out of the gallon here. So one thing I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna let this sit over here. And I'm also on this side gonna do the same thing we also did. So spray directly into a towel here. Move this out of the way. We're gonna get scrubbing here. About the same amount of crud coming off here. Again, it's a little bit hard to tell exactly. But to me, it really matters what it makes the tire actually look like here. All right, so that's looking good there. We'll see how this dries up. We're also gonna spray our brush here, just like we did before. Seeing quite a bit more brown, honestly, come out of this. And again, remember, I did go through and actually rinse out this brush here. All right, looking pretty darn good. So let's get this rinsed off. Now we get into the expensive guy, CarPro Retire. Now this is specifically made to get browning, old tire shines out of tires. So I'm curious to see how this will work compared to the other two. Now, one thing I want to point out here on the back, it says you're going to rinse tires first for loose dirt. These aren't super dirty. Yes, they're looking pretty bad, but don't have loose dirt. It's not like we've been mudding. Now, interestingly enough, it says spray onto a medium hard brush, agitate. After you've let it sit on the tire for 30 seconds, you repeat until suds on the rubber are actually white. So Adams also says something similar to that. Now it's very different from what Ivan says. Again, Ivan says wipe down the tires once or twice with all clean, rinse it off, and then apply it over still a quote unquote brownish tire. Very different philosophies here, so that's why I want to point that out. So we're gonna spray some here into our microfiber towel. Notice how interestingly it foams. Now I will tell you one thing with CarPro Retire here, a lot of people do not like the foam trigger here. And I will tell you, I am probably one of those people. You can see it's in certain areas, but it's not all around. So I guess we're just gonna kind of hammer this guy here. But holy cow, look at that stuff turning brown. Pretty wild. So I'm gonna work this in. I can already tell you, it's getting a lot more off here. The product just doesn't go as far though, but man, it's really pulling off a lot. It's a lot kind of darker brown, if you will, almost to the black. That's pretty disgusting, isn't it? Look at the stuff this is pulling off. So we're gonna spray our brush down here. So I think for sake, what I'm doing here is actually doing this how I normally would. I was trying to use Ivan's method as much as I possibly could on the other side. I scrub tires until it starts to get less and less of this brown. For this kind of initial part of it, I think that's probably enough, and we'll rinse this off. Interestingly enough though, I didn't get this area in here very well, but the outside of the tire is now actually looking black. Compared to the other two, okay, I just want to show you one thing here before we dry this tire off. Look at the amount of brown that came off of this compared to over here, as well as over here. That's a big, big difference already, folks. So let me get this side dried off and let's see which one's the winner. Starting over here with our dry DIY detail all clean. What do you guys think of this? My first impression, it honestly doesn't look that different. Now, again, going back to, I'm trying to use Ivan's product as he would intend it. Again, his thing here, his philosophy is after this is quote unquote clean here, you would dry it off, apply tire shine, and you're good to go, because his theory is you're gonna bring more of that browning out. I don't know which one is right. I'm telling you, this is not how I've cleaned tires for the last 11 years of my detailing career, but I don't think people need to be rude to each other. You can have very different opinions on how things should work. Ivan definitely has a lot of background in chemistry and know-how with detailing. Just to me, this doesn't look like a clean tire. I would look at this and go, oh, we need to actually clean this. So very different viewpoints there. I don't necessarily think one is better than the other, but I just wanted to say that because I think we'll get some comments about this. But coming down into here, still definitely a lot of brown. Now, tire actually feels pretty decent. You can see I'm getting a little on my fingers there, but really not that bad at all. I would say this actually feels pretty darn clean. So what would you guys rate this? It's still pretty brown, but it's actually pretty darn clean. Moving back here to Adam's Tire and Rubber Cleaner, and I would say, yeah, it doesn't really look different at all, does it? So still have a lot of that browning in it, which I'm kind of surprised about because this had the least amount of browning and dirt coming off of it. This had the second most, and this to me, these don't really look any different. I would say they're exactly about the same. Let's kind of see how this tire feels here. Yeah, still feels nice and clean. So if you have the theory of brown tires are okay to put tire shine on, that's cool. I would probably come back in here one more time, scrub this down, and probably go in and actually use my microfiber like I was just quickly explaining. But I would say, okay, got the tire a little bit cleaner, but it's still not without all of that brown disgustingness all over it. So lastly, I think moving over here to CarPro Retire. So again, this is our control, still lots of brown. This is CarPro Retire. Definitely looks like a more black tire at this point now. It's not 100% perfect. I'll be the first one to say that. But this, in the test we did the best job possible, especially on this side of which we scrubbed it. I actually think looks better than the side of which I just used a microfiber. So again, remember these were split like that. But this is still, yeah, looking a lot better. You can see a lot of that browning came out. Again, how CarPro says to do it on the back here. Boom, step 5, if I can focus it, repeat until suds on the rubber are white. So I think this would need one more cleaning. Now, I think one of the big things here you need to understand is you don't want to let your tires get to this point before you clean them. Pretty much every wash, I actually go through and clean my tires. Because the tire shines that I use are normally water-based, they don't last very long. Spoiler alert, we're going to be testing a more long-term protection tire shine after this video, doing a head-to-head comparison of how they apply, talking about the first initial looks, and then seeing how they last. So that'll be really interesting. But yeah, again, everybody has their own way of doing things, and I don't think anybody is necessarily wrong. I think people do different things, and that's totally okay. This, to me, though, without a doubt, looks the absolute best. I wouldn't necessarily immediately put tire shine on this. Like I said, I would probably clean this one more time, but these tires were pretty nasty. This car has genuinely not been washed for 4 months. I can't believe I'm saying that, something like that. So this, to me, is definite winner in my personal opinion. It's a lot more expensive, but it does the job a lot quicker and looks pretty darn amazing. Well, guys, for me, I think we have a pretty clear-cut winner here. Now, everybody's category and basis are going to be on different things. You may look at something like Ivan's DIY detail, all clean over here, and put tire shine on it and be happy as a clam. And I think that is totally cool. It's a very cost-effective product. I can tell you it still cleans the tires, but it doesn't necessarily take out the browning. Now again, Ivan's philosophy is very different, I think, than quite a few people in the industry, where you have something like CarPro Retire over here that is trying to completely eliminate browning. I'm not sure which one is the best case scenario, the best philosophy, and which one I would necessarily go to. In my personal opinion, I think it's more based on the actual tire and the rubber they use in that tire versus the actual browning coming out of it. Because I've experienced this on my Kumos that I've had on this car before. The original tires that came on this car, not the 21-inch wheels with the Goodyear tires here. every single time I would leave the car outside for a week, they would turn bright brown. Now I also run, Michelins and Nokians and have experience with other tires out there, and I don't see that level of browning. So for me, it's that Kumho tire that is leaching out all of that stuff, not necessarily from cleaning. I do not have this same issue on my Michelins or my Nokians turning this brown. Normally I go through, clean them once, they're back to perfectly black, throw some tire shine on them, and boom, they're good to go. So please do not take this video as me just bashing Ivan and disagreeing with him. I have so much respect for him, and I don't necessarily think he's wrong. I think a lot of tires out there will actually cause more browning the more you clean them. So I do think he's onto something there, but it's also interesting you have something like CarPro Retire that is trying to completely eliminate that. Just two very different ways of thinking through things. Now, for me, the way I would think through this is not a product that I'm gonna discard or get rid of, especially for cleaning tires. I think this is actually a very good maintenance product for cleaning your tires before you put tire shine on them. But I also think a product like CarPro Retire, when your tires get to a point like this, you absolutely need something like this to get them back to black, to accept that tire shine and keep them looking like that. Now, again, I can't tell you guys to go spend $75 a gallon and buy CarPro Retire and use it all the time. If you want to, if you have infinite money, great. But I think the way I'm going to use these products here is use this as kind of my nuclear bomb, if you will, with very dirty, disgusting tires. This for kind of medium to pretty dirty, and this in kind of my more maintenance daily washes type thing. So I think there's a use case for all three of these. I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Were you surprised with the findings? What do you think? I think it's a very interesting test, and more videos I'm going to be doing like this, testing the cheapest to most expensive. I think it's a very cool series, and I'm going to tell you, it is not always going to be the most expensive wins. I have done different tests like this and personally used the cheapest products because sometimes they actually work the best and make your life more efficient, more effective, and it's a really interesting thing to figure out in the detailing world. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in another one soon. Bye-bye.